why are people only listening to like 5 seconds of your beat? Well, it's usually one or two reasons. One, your mix is bad, and two, your beat is boring. Sorry to splash the cold water on you, but it's most likely one of those two in most cases. Now today I'm not going to be going over how you can mix your beats. I already have a couple videos on that, but I am going to be going over how you can make your beats less boring so people will listen to them longer and fully experience the beat. Now the method that we're going to be using today is the patented Stinger 8-bar method. This is patented. Do not try to steal this. I will sue you. If you steal this, it is heavily copyrighted, and once I find out what the internet is, I will take you down. What this method entails is that if you want your beat to be interesting, every 8 bars should be different. So today I'm going to be breaking down an example of the 8-bar rule, as well as some methods you can use to create some variation in your beats. Alright, so here's a beat that I made recently that employs that 8-bar method. As you can see, in the first 8 bars, we have 1 melody. In the next 8 bars, we have 2 melodies, and we introduce some drums. In the next 8 bars, we have 3 melodies, but keep the same drums. In the next 8 bars, we introduce a new melody along with the other 2 and keep the same drums. And so on and so forth. You get the point. The reason why the 8-bar method works is because people have an extremely short attention span. So if something new isn't being thrown at them in the beat like every 10 seconds, they're most likely going to lose interest. And introducing something new just reels the listener back in every time they're like, all right, I'm going to click off, and then boom, new melody, boom, new drums, boom, new this, new that. So now that we've explained why it works, let's go over a couple of methods to introduce some variation into your beats. The first method is going to be one that we explored earlier, being melodies. If you want your beat to be complex, you gotta have some melodic layers. And splitting up those layers and introducing them gradually provides some great variation. Now keep in mind, if you're gonna add in a melody as a form of variation, make sure it's a noticeable melody. Throw in like a lead or an outstanding synth, not just like some background pad or ambience or texture that the listener really isn't gonna pick up on. And while melodic layering is cool, it can get kind of boring after a while, which is where our next method comes in, being a melody switch up. So throughout the first minute of this beat, it's playing pretty much the same melody, just with different layering. But right here, it switches to a completely new melody. I put that in quotations because it's using the same chord progression, but it's using different sounds, introducing new leads and new basses. So here's what the switch up sounds like. Throwing in something like that in a beat just throws a curveball for the listener and grabs their attention instantly. The next method you could use is drum switch ups. Now this could be placed into different subcategories as well. You could switch up the 808, you could switch out the snare from like a snare to a rim shot, you could switch up the hi-hat pattern, you could introduce like a perk loop. All of those options are great for introducing some variation. But similar to the melody, you have to make sure that it is noticeable. You can't just switch your snare from like one snare to a very similar snare, because nobody's really going to notice that unless they're really paying attention. So switching your 808 from a long 808 like the Spins to a short 808 like the Zay is a viable option. Switching your hi-hat pattern from an 8th note to a 16th note pattern is a good option. And switching the complete sound of a snare, like I said earlier, from a rim shot to a snare is a perfectly viable option as well. Now the final method that I'm going to be going over today to provide some variation is a complete beat switch. If you can pull it off, beat switches are incredible in beats. Take Kendrick Lamar for example. The beat switches in his songs make it seem like you're listening to 2 songs in one. And if that doesn't grab your attention, I don't know what is. So in this beat, I'm switching from our original beat to a new beat with a new melody, new drums, new pattern, new tempo, new everything. So this is what the switch sounds like. Shout out to Loop Legend for that melody. Homie is crazy with these Nardo Wick and Southside type of melodies. But as you can see, doing something like that is just throwing the beat in the listener's face. Because if I was just going about my day, doing my chores or whatever, and I was listening to a song with this beat and I heard that beat switch, most likely I would stop what I was doing and be like, oh, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Like, doing something that'll take the listener out of the present moment is exactly what you want to do. Now, obviously, you want to go kind of easy on this because you don't want to make the beat completely unwrappable. If you're throwing in some like crazy variation everywhere, unless it's like super trap or something like that, the rapper might have a hard time catching a flow to it. But if it's something simple like the methods I mentioned today, you should be golden. Hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you have any methods on how you create variation in your beats that I didn't mention, drop them down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. As always, the FLP for this beat will be on my Patreon in the link in the description if you want to study the arrangement, as well as all of my other FLPs in all of my tutorials. Also, feel free to subscribe as I post 2 tutorials every single week, one long one and one short one. Other than that, it's going to be it. Peace.